Welcome to the Flight Club Podcast, a woman's guide to leaning out. We give you a behind-the-scenes look at business launch and growth through the stories of successful female entrepreneurs. Here's your host, Felina Hansen, founder and CEO of Hera Hub.
Hello and welcome. I am really looking forward to my conversation today with Katie Green. She is a neurodivergent mental health coach and consultant who's committed to teaching neurodivergent women how to create a life they do not need to escape from. In this context, neurodivergent means women that are autistic, have ADHD, ADD, sensory support needs, and communication or learning differences. Katie utilizes her extensive psychology education, lived experience as an autistic woman, and clinical experience as an addiction counselor to equip women to live in a way that honors their brain. Katie strives to empower people and businesses in their journey to celebrate every aspect of neurodivergence without fear of social penalty. Welcome to the show today, Katie.
Thank you so much.
Awesome. Well, I am excited to learn more about you. You have a really interesting background and career path. I know you're originally a SoCal girl. I as well was born and raised here in California, a little further up the coast on the central coast of California. Talk to us about early education choices. Let's go to your bachelor's degree. Where did you go and what did you study?
I went to Life Pacific University in San Dimas, California, and that is a sister college to a sister university to Azusa Pacific. And I looked all over the place for the ability to be able to study psychology. And I really, really, really wanted to include psychology from my faith perspective. And because that was a very big part of me. And so I wanted to be able to use my education and kind of have that lens as I go through my education. And so choosing that college was a very great choice. I learned about it because my youth pastor growing up, my youth pastor for the high school, his father was a former president of the college. And so he took the seniors and juniors in high school to what are called preview days. And preview days are a really special opportunity for incoming prospective students to get to experience a couple classes, go to a chapel, have a meal on campus, basically feel like a college student for a day. And I did the first preview day my junior year. And then I was so interested that I kept going. I went on there was a fall and spring preview day, and I went to any event that I could. It was only 30 miles away from my home where I lived. So I cleared my schedule and arranged things so that I could do more preview days because I was just so excited about what that meant.
Awesome. That's great. Wonderful. And so it sounds like you enjoyed your degree immensely, BA in development and child psychology. Why did you pick child psychology specifically?
I did human development and psychology. And the reason that I picked that is because I believed that would be a very good preview of just all the options that I could possibly have for helping people. I knew when I was a junior in high school, I was on the speech and debate team, and I figured out pretty much in general what I wanted to do, because on the speech and debate team, I ended up giving a speech on the existence of bullying and society's obligation to respond. And then I presented that at the Pasadena Bar Association for a speech tournament. And after completing that event, I just knew, I intuitively completely knew that if I paired my story with psychology and research and then presented it to people in positions of power, that maybe the world can be a little bit better of a place. And I believed that human development and psychology would give me a very good overview of what my options would be, what options would be available to be able to help people. Because I always really enjoyed the how and the why of why things are the way they are, and why people make certain decisions, and everything's got a context, and nothing happens really by accident. It's a lot of it is by choice. And so I was just fascinated with how we interact and how we are the way that we are. And so I dove into psychology, but I wanted to include my faith. And so I chose a private institution, a religious Bible college. And I was actually one of the first classes to graduate with the human development and psychology degree, because the college as it stood was a place that people go to be ordained ministers, to be pastors. And that is wonderful. And I knew that my personality and the way that I was, like, I really don't mind being somebody's guinea pig. And I truly don't. I really don't, especially if it's going to help, especially if it's just going to help for people that come after me.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's use pioneer instead of guinea pig. How's that?
Sure. Yeah, that works.
Perfect.
But, yeah, semantics.
Yes, of course. Exactly. And yeah, I am going to ask us to go back a bit pre-college here in a moment. But before I
Sure.
do that, I mean, you really were passionate about this. So you continued on to get a master's degree in forensic psychology, and you got your doctorate in psychology just in 2022. I mean, you really took an amazing deep dive into understanding us, our brains, why we tick, why we do what we do. As you said, why did this, let's go back to childhood. Why was this so important to you, Katie?
I think many people in the mental health, behavioral health world choose the profession because of something in their own life, of either wanting answers or wanting to pay it forward related to something within their own life. And I had, in short, I had a bunch of physical health issues as a kid, and I needed a ton of physical therapy to just be able to walk correctly. And so my focus was on getting my physical health together. And I didn't feel that I had, looking back, I really don't feel like I had enough space or ability to really understand what all I needed to do socially. And that, and I didn't really have that many friends growing up in school. Most of my friends were actually teachers or people that worked on campus. And I didn't come to find out until a year after I completed undergrad that I'm autistic. And that is why I had so many difficulties with small talk, with just the early parts of building a friendship, those kinds of things. And so I was really on a quest to try to understand why I was different. And I was really on a quest to try to understand why certain people were left out, and it wasn't okay with me that they were left out. And trying to create an inclusive space for everybody. And I knew that if I wanted to really be effective with doing that, I need to learn how to do that. And so I committed to learning anything possible that I could.
Wow, my goodness. It's so interesting because now, and let's get into this definition of neurodivergent. It's a word that I just learned, I don't know, like a year ago, which is kind of crazy, I guess.
Yeah.
We actually have another member here at Hera Hub. Her name is Anne, and she has a therapy practice here, specifically focusing on supporting folks who are neurodivergent. So that I've learned through her and some of the work that she's doing. So interesting that you didn't get diagnosed until basically college. Did I hear that correctly?
A year. I didn't get diagnosed until about 3 months after completing my master's degree.
Oh my
So
God.
I went through my entire school process without any sort of like IEP or like learning assistance. And it's because I was an extremely good student. I found an immense amount of safety in the structure that school provided. And it's just all the social stuff that was confusing the daylight out of me. But that didn't set off anybody's radar because I wasn't being deviant about anything. I was working, I didn't like, I was working pretty hard to stay under the radar, not give people in authority extra stuff to do because I messed up. That was a whole thing for me mentally. And and also I grew up in a family that was impacted by addiction. So that really created a bit of a different baseline. I was emotionally and socially way older than than what I actually am for years. And I believe that that is why ever since I was a child, I've gotten "you're mature for your age" or "you're wise beyond your years." It's because emotionally and socially, I really was about 50 from a very young age, mentally speaking, at least.
Wow, my goodness. And what are your feelings now, Katie? I'm going to assume that
Yeah.
this is a good thing in that there is so much more opportunity to diagnose children earlier. There's so much more awareness around it. I'm assuming this is good for everybody, right?
For sure. And the reason that I am on board with being with like celebrating neurodivergence is because apart from the sensory challenges that I experience sometimes and the overload experiences, I really view being able to see the world through this lens as a strength. And through anything that I do, I don't, if it's not necessary for somebody's safety or health, like I'm not going to be pushing conformity on anybody. People can express and communicate how they choose. And as long as it's not hurting themselves or others, let it be. And we can all just kind of work on minimizing stress and minimizing conflict. And that will be okay if we approach it from let's just reduce the amount of stress this causes a person instead of let's try to put them in boxes so that we're more comfortable.
Yeah, absolutely. When did the phrase neurodivergent really start to become understood and used? Because I think it's such a great word, right? It really speaks to just, hey, these are incredible human beings who are oftentimes incredibly intelligent, and they just maybe see things from a slightly different angle, right?
Exactly. There's been a lot more research about all of this in the last, I want to say 5 to 10 years, but my approach to working with adult women is really focused on trying to minimize, if not completely kick out, the ingrained imposter syndrome that many of us experience, because the diagnosis for women is not until I got diagnosed in my mid-20s, and that's considered early for women. And so, and that's a lot of the times it's because we don't present like a 6-year-old boy. We don't present the same way, and we're very different. And it's a huge period of realization, significant grief. But once that clears, and once a person has ability to move through that, there's a huge amount of acceptance and self-compassion and love and just peace, and knowing that you can actually change some things in your world to make life a lot easier.
Absolutely. So I want to get into, of course, the work you're doing now, Katie, but before we do that, I know you've spent some time as an addiction counselor. Talk about that decision and your work there, and then how that perhaps informs your work that you're doing today.
Yeah, so as an addiction counselor, I really, really loved working as an addiction counselor. The reason that I chose a non-clinical path, however, is because I did not want to be constricted by dealing with jumping through insurance hoops. And I felt like it was more about paperwork completion. For if like I would do my very best to provide services for people, but I always had in the back of my head, like, I need to do this paperwork perfectly. Otherwise, there's going to be a bunch of fines. And otherwise, there's going to be a bunch of conflict in the leadership and the larger organization, because we were answering to Medi-Cal and Medicare. And those two entities are just totally sharks in terms of what they want and things like that. And my heart to do good for people and to be altruistic and to not have like money and bureaucracy drive a lot of what I do, was conflicting for me morally. And so I knew that I wanted to do something that would be better for people, and that would include more of the human experience. So because I saw, I got a master's in forensic psychology, and then I witnessed the whole thing going on in real time as an addiction counselor. And I saw people make excellent progress in the confines of 4 walls of a therapy office, but get launched physically right back into environments and people and places that continue to make them sick, with not much strategy to be able to adjust their life as needed. They would have ultra confidence in session, but have the motivation and the joy and the hope drained out of them as soon as they walk out of the building. And I was not okay with that being the reality of the people that I interact with professionally. So I created my own path, and that's the journey that I'm on, is to be able to help people not have to be in situations where they are not comfortable, not healthy, those kinds of things.
Absolutely. Oh, a lot to unpack there. I
Yeah.
wish we had so much more time to
Yeah.
talk, because there's so much. And just even your comment a few moments ago about imposter syndrome. I mean, we talk so much
Yeah.
about this as women in business, and the why of that. You know, what is that stemming from, and why don't men have imposter syndrome as much as?
Oh, they do. They
Okay.
do. Trust
Okay.
me. No, they absolutely do.
Okay,
However,
they just don't. They don't show it.
Just in my particular context, men are very typically diagnosed much younger.
I see.
So they don't have I want to be extremely clear about that.
Okay.
Men need just as much love and support. Believe when I say that they do. For my own niche, for my own sliver of contribution that I can make to the world, my focus is on women because that is what I feel like I can speak to the best. I do not want to talk people through something that I can't at least relate and theme to.
Yeah.
So, yeah, they absolutely do. I want to be very, very clear. They absolutely do.
Yeah.
And I'm in full support of men as well. I work with men sometimes too, but they come with their partner. They come with their kid. They come like as a package. They come as part of a package. But yeah, that they are fully just as much deserving of love, safety, peace, health, all of that.
Absolutely. I agree. Wonderful. We'll talk, Katie, about the work you're doing now in that, how do you work? Who do you work with? Just talk about the work you're doing today.
So today I am working with neurodivergent women, and so far that has been going great. However, I believe that my work with businesses and my work with business owners is picking up a little bit more because than my work with individuals. And the truth of that behind that is like I just made the switch in the last year and a half from pursuing a clinical path of licensure to the world of coaching and the world of consulting coaching. And I don't believe at this point that I have enough credibility in the coaching arena simply because I have not spent as many years in that space. And coaching in California is extremely saturated. And that's a whole different topic. But I have way more legwork to do to get the one-on-one services going because I'm not selling chairs, I'm selling a concept and I'm selling an emotional journey. If I was selling chairs or if I was selling furniture, it would be as simple as, yep, everything's sturdy, everything's went through the appropriate approval. It's good. You can just get it. I don't have to, there's not a concept that people need to see. There's not an emotional journey that needs to happen. So right now, my focus is working with business and business owners to help them treat their neurodivergent staff and clients well. And in the context of working with businesses, I don't need to do as much legwork to communicate that I'm trustworthy because my education speaks for itself when I go to businesses. When I go to individuals and they have been inundated with coaches for the past 3 years, it's a lot more legwork. It really is.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, no, and gosh, what an amazing niche to be able to support businesses to better serve, like you said, their customers and their team, their staff that is neurodivergent and understand them. That's absolutely brilliant. And girl, you have so many degrees and so much experience. You can do whatever you want.
Thank you. I'm completing my PsyD now. I'm on my doctoral project, which is the last step in the education process for me. But I'm doing it on perfectionism's impact on how women in leadership positions present with major depressive disorder. And it's so interesting, but that's what I'm doing my whole paper on.
Oh my goodness. Well, I really want to schedule another time with you to dive into that, because that is so, as an entrepreneur for now well over 20 years, I talk a lot about how perfectionism really holds us back. I always joke, and I hope this phrase doesn't startle you, Katie, but I call myself the queen of half-ass because I truly I would never have gotten as far as I've gotten in business had I tried to make everything perfect. I'm
Right.
completely proud of being the queen of half-ass. So anyways,
Yeah.
a
Rock it.
conversation for another day. Yes, exactly.
Rock it and celebrate it.
Yeah, yes, exactly. So Katie, what are some of the things as you continue to grow, your business and your practice? I know you said you're, starting to work more and more with business owners. What are some of the other things that you're working on that you're looking forward to, in the next 6 months to a year?
In the next 6 months to a year, I really want to I want to sharpen my speaking abilities. I have not had formal speaking training since high school, and I would really like to get back into that because so much of my business um, kind of depends on people being able to jump on board with a concept or get um, in, included or be able to see a emotional journey so they can join. But yeah, so more speaking strategies, and I'm really looking forward to working with co-creators, and basically co-creators is my twist on collaborator. Collaborator is such a general term. When I when I speak about co-creators, I'm talking about me partnering with any business owner to create something beautiful for their audience, so that their audience can learn and grow and hopefully heal if that's needed. But I'm very much looking forward to co-creating workshops, co-creating different things with people. And that is something that the sky is really the limit on. I could co-create a retreat, I can co-create a workshop, I can co-create a flyer, whatever it is. But the more audiences, the more different types of audiences I can reach, the more self-compassion I think people will have. And that's the goal at the end of the day, every day.
Absolutely. Well, this conversation has given me some good ideas of people to connect you with that could be potential
Awesome.
co-creators.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yay.
Wonderful. Well,
Thank you.
Katie, if our listeners want to reach out to you, get in touch with you, what's the best way for them to do that?
They can they can go to my website. It's hopereignited.consulting.com.
Awesome.
Hope Reignited Consulting.
Love it. Awesome. Well, Katie, thank you so much for spending a bit of time with me today.
I loved it. Thank you so much. There's more joy and peace in the world because you are in it. I fully believe that.
Oh, thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Thank you for joining this week's episode of Flight Club, sponsored by Hera Hub. We look forward to sharing more success stories with you soon.